I was physically broken. I was like in bed for like a year, just stuck at home for a year. And having that experience of not having my physical health, that really forced me to like take care of my body way more. And that it made me more cognizant of like all these things. And that's why I've become so interested in this field. And then last year, I found out I was pre-diabetic, and I'm like, what?
Wow.
I work so hard to like lose weight, to stay in shape and get fit, except something was not right. There was something out of alignment, and I think it was my diet, right? I used to train for marathons, and then I had my back injury, and then I would continue eating like a marathon runner, high carb, because at that time I could put anything down the gullet and just burn it
Wouldn't
off the next day.
matter.
It wouldn't
Yeah.
matter because I couldn't keep the calories. I could just burn them off. And then I would continue eating the same way. And I think that high carb diet really threw me over the loop.
Yeah. I
And
remember when you posted that video saying like, now I'm committed to doing healthy, inspired cooking. I thought that was really, I'm really glad you made that change.
Thank you.
Because I think it actually like in a way gives other creators permission to not have to make the food trends and to make something that will inspire people to live healthier. So
yeah, I think there's so much with food that like, you know, as someone who loves food, I grew up in a household where everybody loves food. We're all foodies.
yeah.
One of my cousins, so like I have a big family, especially my dad's side. Actually, my mom's side is even bigger, but I lived with all my dad's side of the family. We all grew up together. There was, I think 13 cousins roughly.
Whoa,
First cousins,
that's
11,
awesome.
13-ish. And I remember one of my first cousins had a cousin over for a family dinner, like a wedding or so. And that outsider person was like, man, at your family dinners, all you guys ever talk about is food. And like, you're at a restaurant and your conversation is, what are you going to be eating next? Like, it's all about food. And that's all you guys think about. And so
Yep.
food has become, it's such a big part of my family. My dad, he sells seafood, so we get seafood all the time. And so as someone who loves food, I did not want to sacrifice tasty and delicious food and meals. And so that's like been really my mission to like bridge the gap, learning about health, learning about AGEs and longevity, and finding recipes and ways and techniques and using tools to really bridge the gap so we can still taste and cook really delicious foods, but still be mindful of like how our food affects our bodies. And
Yeah.
I love this. I love talking to you about this. I feel like we're in very similar lanes.
Yeah.
And it's an important message, right? They say 50% of the US is either pre-diabetic or have
I
type
think
2
it's more than
diabetes.
that. Yeah.
More than that.
And
It's
talking
so
about
sad.
kids too. Yeah. I mean, and for children, it's really hard to reverse that path the earlier it starts. So I'm with you though in that, like, I guess maybe this is the counselor side in me. I want people to be empowered to live this way and not feel like we're sucking the joy out of eating, right? Because I think in order for it to be sustainable, it has to be something that people really like eating. And the reason why I talk so much about cultural foods is because I think it's a really great example of eating well and enjoying it at the same time. Because there's something that happens when you eat cultural foods, right? It's like it's like it hits all the things. Like you get the oxytocin because you're remembering of the time when you had it with your parents and you were cooking it with your mom or something in the kitchen, and then you're also like usually a lot of these traditional foods are nutrient dense and they're cooked in a water-based way and they are fresh ingredients. They're not ultra processed. Like it hits all the right things, and part of my mission is to like remind people, like it was always there. We got a little lost, but like, it's not, you don't have to forget all of grandma's dishes just because you're on a healthy path. Because honestly, I'm guilty of that. There was a period in my life, when I was in my early 20s and I was trying to be really healthy. I'm like, I am healthy now. Like, I'm not eating your pho. Sorry, mom. And it's so sad thinking of that. Like, I remember I came home from college and my mom made me all this food. And I was like, Mom, I'm having my grilled salmon salad. I'm not going to have your noodle soup or whatever. I was like, why did I do that? And now finally being able to kind of shift that conversation to, hey, actually those aren't bad foods. Like it's totally fine to eat your cultural foods. And culture doesn't necessarily just mean Asian food. I just happen to cook Asian food because that's what I'm most familiar with. But this style of cooking is like ubiquitous all over the world. It's a global cuisine, water-based cooking. And there there are ways to be healthy without having to completely knock off like your cultural favorite dishes. One of the things that I think is pushing this is the fact that we're so far removed from our food processing. We're just like really busy people, right? And we've become very reliant on restaurant culture, DoorDash, ultra processed or processed foods and ultra processed foods. Like we're just not really processing our food ourselves anymore these days. And I think when you do that, you kind of become like a passive consumer of food. You're not really thinking so much about, what method am I using to prepare this? How was this made? If you're just purchasing something, it's like it's not in your mind about how to control that.
So if we go back, take a step back and think, okay, this is like healthy food, right? Now we compete against like the DoorDashes and the restaurant food and like convenience food from the grocery store that's so highly palatable. Whereas like if we cook at home, it's probably better for us. We learn some skills, we can control our ingredients, but like a lot of us home cooks don't have those skills to cook. And so there's like I feel like as a society, maybe things are changing now, but like over the past like decade or two, I don't know for sure, but I just don't think people are cooking as much, or at least back then. But now with social media, with content creation and more content about food and cooking, I think we're getting closer. And COVID happened, people started picking up sourdough as a
Right.
as a hobby and just learning how to cook. I've talked to so many friends who like learned how to cook during COVID.
Yeah, and like dinner parties are a thing now. The piece about restaurants, actually, I eat out at restaurants not all the time, but I do eat out. I went out to dinner last night because I was like, I got to prep for this podcast. Mama don't have time to cook. So we went out to eat.
Well, what'd you order?
Well, I ordered, what did I get? Like a salmon bowl with quinoa and soy tahini drizzle with veggies and stuff. But the thing that I pay attention to is the cooking method. So I feel like, and this is important also for your podcast, like when you recognize how things are made, you're no longer just kind of trapped by whatever is being offered on the menu. You can kind of scan it and say, oh, actually, like this is better just based on the way it's cooked and has veggies and things. As long as it checks off, those benchmarks of what makes a healthy food, I think it gives you a lot of options.